Here's an AMI This Week shortcut with Alex Smyth.
For wheelchair users, personal mobility can be difficult, and identifying obstacles in your surroundings isn't always possible. That's why Braze Mobility has developed a device to eliminate those blind spots. Dr. Pooja Viswanathan is the founder and CEO of Braze Mobility, and she explains why they created this device.
The reason we do this is because accidents are a very big problem with power mobility devices. They tend to not only be a safety concern for those driving the chair and those around them, but they also lead to a lot of property damage and can often also result in inclusion from the use of power mobility devices altogether. So we're solving a very important problem here. And my whole journey started off actually going for the first time to a long-term care facility where I saw that the majority of residents there were slumped over in these manual wheelchairs, so they didn't have the strength to self-propel, and they weren't being allowed to use power mobility devices because of all of the safety concerns. So that's where it all started for me. And then after almost a decade of research, when I finally realized that a lot of this great technology was sitting in the research labs, but really wasn't being commercialized and really getting into the hands of users that really needed them, I decided to start the company in 2016 with Braze Mobility.
Now, how does this device work?
Yes, so the blind spot sensors essentially get attached on any wheelchair, but the main kind of interaction with the user is through the alert system. And we have multi-modal alert. So that means that we issue alerts to the user through lights, sounds, and vibrations. That's really because our users are very unique. Their needs are very unique. And so we have a lot of customers, for example, that have low vision, that are in fact legally blind. And so a system that only provided visual feedback would not be usable. Similarly, we have users with hearing impairment. We have others who don't feel any sensation in certain parts of their body. And so having the three different feedback modalities has just made it so much more accessible to a broader population of wheelchair users.
Well, that's fantastic. The device is that adaptable. Can you describe what it looks like?
Yeah, so the sensors themselves are actually quite compact. They kind of fit in the palm of your hand. And they come in a couple of different sizes depending on what the use for them is. So we have one version of our sensors, for example, that's called the Braze Sentinel. The Sentinel sees roughly 180 degrees of horizontal coverage and about 45 to 50 degrees of vertical coverage. And so typically the Sentinel is mounted in the back of the chair, and it's usually placed as close to the ground as possible. Like we're usually about a foot off the ground. And that really helps with identifying lower obstacles, which also have these really small sensors that are called echo heads. And those can be placed essentially anywhere around the wheelchair. And that's meant for more targeted coverage. It usually sees about a 45 to 50 degree cone. And so it just really depends on where the person needs coverage.
Now, this is such an innovative form of technology. Are there other companies that are currently doing this type of work as well, or are you guys the only ones?
Yeah, currently we're the only blind spot sensor system in the market that does provide multimodal alerts to the driver. And so it's really been innovative technology that we've introduced into the industry. And we do hope that moving forward, this becomes a standard feature in all power wheelchairs.
That's something client and wheelchair user Phil Ratzlaff would be grateful for, as Braze has had a huge impact on his freedom of mobility.
I can't emphasize enough how much freedom the Braze gives you, especially for a blind or partially sighted person coming up to a car. My cane will go under the car and I won't feel it until I run into the car. Whereas the Braze now will warn me that there's a car there. I don't know of any other way of knowing what's around you than the Braze system. It just opens the world to you.
While the impact has already been felt from its users, Pooja hopes that this device will help raise awareness and advocacy for this underserved community going forward.
Independence is key, and mobility is a right, not a privilege, and that's something that we really advocate for. And I think that's something perhaps that there hasn't been enough advocacy for. But now that there is an alternative, there is a system that can help with increased that spatial awareness, I think we're seeing a lot more people advocate for themselves.
For more information, visit www.brazemobility.com.